Hi, my name's Jonathan Hicks, and this evening I'm joined by
Jack.
Mark.
And we've just finished playing Anno 1800, which is based on the computer game, if you're familiar with that. It's by Martin Wallace. Martin Wallace. So it's a kind of economic game, as you might expect from Martin Wallace. And essentially, it's about trying to build lots of buildings. At the start of the game, you have this board here, which has some buildings on, but if I kind of remove these, but there are some blank spaces as well. And you're using your workers at the top here to try and get the goods to build extra buildings. So, for example, I built this soap building earlier on in the game. And to buy the soap building, you kind of look at the tableau of all the available buildings here. So to make something that gets you soap, you need the stuff at the top. So, for example, this requires, I think that's meant to be a pig, and coal. So you look at, I can produce pigs, and they require green workers. So you take one of your green workers here and put them on the space, and that grants you that resource. And then I also need coal, which is here. This needs a red worker. So I take a red worker, and I add that to the space. And then that gives me access to this building. I flip it over, and I put it in here. And now I can also make soap. And this requires a blue worker. You can see you've got blue workers. And you're going to spend a lot of the game just kind of building up, getting more of these buildings. The buildings kind of get more expensive. You can see later buildings require earlier things. So this cannon, for example, requires explosives. And explosives, there they are, require pigs and bricks and boxes. And so the boxes will require, so you kind of keep going, but it sort of builds up and builds up and builds up. You're trying to get better and better resources. The higher up buildings, though, like this tractor making building, requires purple workers. And basically, like from left to right, the workers are getting better. So you can acquire more workers as one of your actions. And if you want to acquire a farmer, then that just costs you a wood. But if you wanted to acquire one of these purple engineers, I think they are, then this requires boxes and coal and iron and windows. So you can pay to kind of get more workers. You can also take an action to pay to upgrade your workers. So, for example, if I really wanted a purple worker but I didn't have all this stuff, I could upgrade a red worker into a purple worker. This would cost me just iron and windows. So you're not paying the whole cost. And obviously you switch out the red cube for a purple cube. But why are you building all these buildings and upgrading workers and trying to produce more stuff? Ultimately, you're going to have a hand of cards. So you have a bunch of cards like this, and the cards are going to give you points at the end of the game. So this one you can see at the bottom gives you 5 points. If I flip to this one will give me 8 points. So this is a big way of getting points. So you're trying to fulfill the resources at the top. So you can see this one requires sewing machines, coffee, and the electric light bulb. Now what you're going to find is you don't have enough space to start with, or buildings to be able to do everything you need. But you can use other people's. So this sewing machine, I think Jack had a sewing machine, didn't you? There we go. Jack uses sewing machines. So I can effectively trade for his resource. So it requires a red worker, but if you're trading for someone else's, this requires 2 trade tokens. And you have your ships at the bottom here, which you can send off. They get you trade tokens, so I could spend these 2 trade tokens in order to use Jack's thing. Now, it doesn't stop him using it. He gets a gold to sort of recognize the fact that I've traded with him. And you can spend gold to kind of reactivate workers. I'll come back to that. But that lets me use that one. The coffee on here I actually have, so I could use a red worker to get the coffee. And where was it? There it is. And then the electric light bulb. I think Jack also has the electric light bulb, don't you? So I'd need purple to use the electric light bulb. So I'd have to spend 3 of my trade tokens. And they would come off, so that'd be 1, 2, 3, there we go. And then I can finally kind of get this card. You just sort of flip it over, and you get some kind of bonus. In this case, the bonus is the envelope means I get another turn, but it's worth 8 points at the end of the game. So you're trying to work through a lot of these. Now, in terms of the workers, if I want to then use, say, coal again, I could spend another red worker to get something which requires coal here. But now the coal is blocked off. I can't use them anymore. So you've got a couple of options, and obviously you may run out of workers as well because you've used them in different places. You can either pay to sort of refresh the workers. So if I want to refresh a red worker, it costs 3 gold. So the trading and getting the gold is quite important because it lets you get the workers back. But also at some point you're probably just going to have what they call a festival, which is like a refresh action where you take all the things that are all on actions and they go back here. So which frees them up, which lets you use these things again. So that's going to be quite important. You're also going to get all your trade tokens back on your ships when you do the refresh action. So you're going to want to do that. That's going to be quite handy. And some of the ships, in fact, give you combat things. There are ways you can build like shipyards here. You can see if you've got bricks and wood and you use a purple guy, you can build a shipyard. And once you've got a shipyard of certain values, you can get the ships that sort of correspond to them. They kind of get better as you go further to the right. So if you want to buy this warship that has fighting power, you need sails and wood and a cannon, and you use a purple worker. So that's how you're kind of getting these ships, but then each time you refresh, they get their things back. Now, what do you use the fighty tokens for? Well, that's for sort of conquering other territory. So you can see I've kind of added boards onto my original board here. If you spend your fighting tokens, you can acquire these new boards, which gives you more space for more buildings and more space for more ships like this. You can also go off to the new world and acquire resources that we don't get in the old world, like cotton, and I think that's tobacco on the end. Not sure what the one in the middle is. Pomegranate, maybe? So that's another thing. And then you can use these, because you can't trade these with other people. You have to kind of acquire these yourselves, which is quite important. There's going to be some end game scoring conditions that you're aiming for. So in this game, we were getting 6 points, for example, for making gramophones and I think penny farthings and tractors and things. You're also getting points for the, these new world boards that I was just talking about. You're getting 6 points for one of those. Whoever has the most purple workers at the end is getting points. So there's a few things like that you're going to be aiming for. Also, you're going to be acquiring these, what I call expedition cards. And at the end of the game, you basically can try and allocate your workers. So this would need a purple worker on that one, which will get me 2 points, and a bluish worker, which will get me 3 points. So you're trying to acquire these cards as well. So there's a bunch of different kind of cards that you're trying to satisfy in terms of, like, as we were saying, the requirements here to get the points, but also having the right cubes to get the points at the end. But the interesting thing is when you run out of cards, it triggers the end of the game. And every time you buy more workers, which you definitely want to do at the start, they come with cards. So buying extra workers can be great, but then it lengthens the game because you've got more cards, and there's some interesting decisions to be made there. So when you run out of cards, we finish and count up points, and most points wins. What do we think?
I think it's really good at making you pay attention to the balance between engine building and point scoring. And a lot of the way that the cards work, for example, are on theme. So when you're buying your resources, like you're upgrading, you're getting your new tiles, they strictly cost like the actual resources, like materials for things. But when you're buying the cards for people, they cost the sort of things, the amenities that people would want. And I had a bit of a hodgepodge of this and that, which meant on the bright side, a lot of people were trading stuff off of me because they tended to need one thing or another that I had. But on the other hand, it also meant that I wasn't really being very efficient with what I did. And I kind of took the what feels fun way of at the end, where you upgrade all your resources because you can afford to do it when it doesn't actually get you any points. There was a point in the game where, with the rule of how when a person empties their hand, that's what triggers the end game, I could have ended the game at least a good few turns earlier, but I just took one glance over at Jonathan's board and went, nope, I'm not going to win the game if I do that. And lo and behold, it didn't work out anyway for me holding off. There is a I think the second time I play this game will be incredibly different. There's a very strong feeling of when I play it again, I'm going to do this, and I do like that. I think that shows that you can put thought into the game and not just randomly play it and win. Yeah, it's good. It's a really good game.
Okay, Mark?
Yeah, kind of split minds on this. There's bits I quite like and bits I'm less sure on. I guess the first thing I quite like is just the evolutionary flow of the game. You do feel like you're moving, getting better at making better goods, whether it means making the stuff you start off with cheaper or getting access to new things you can resell. I like the fact that I care what the people have built to some extent, because it's less good for me if I'm building something that somebody else has done. I'm likely to get gold, which I can then reuse to reinvest to reuse workers. I like the fact that I can use this stuff that I've got from the people, so I can react to my workers, then therefore holding me off having to do the full refresh. I like the fact that the end game scores will probably mix up a bit, and I like the actual. Like the puzzle itself is good, and as Jack said, playing this again, I will be better at it. I guess my first initial issue is, while I do care what other people are doing in building, other than that, a lot of the time is, who's built soap? Yep, okay, I'll give you a turn and check. I don't actually need to look and see who's built soap, and I'll kind of, it can be a bit, a lot of the time I'm just puzzling on my own board or trying to work out the most optimization move and not entirely caring what the people do. I think it's probably just the optimization's so heavy. You're so kept looking at what you're trying to do. Oh, I need to do that and that, and what can I do and what can I do. But yeah, it can be tough. I guess my other big worry is that while it's got different victory conditions, I'm not sure the game flow itself is going to change between games much. I think I'll do it better, but ultimately it's like Sentry almost on steroids, where Sentry is convert cube to cube or another cube to then score cube. This is convert A to B, convert C to D, and then convert B and D together to get E, and then score E. And, it's like that, and with a few more stages along the way. But ultimately, the goods on the main board aren't going to change. Realistically, I am just trying to get a set of icons. The icons will change, will come up, so the ones that I go for will be different next time. But fundamentally, I'm just taking a different set and path of goods to get there. But nothing feels any different. It's still just this tile and this tile. So I'm not sure it'll have any of the lasting stay power to me. Other than maybe to get better at it, I don't think it'll make me come back and go, wow, this is giving me different experience. I think every time it'll be, this is me trying to do what I did last time better. And maybe I just like something with a bit more variety. Maybe other people may disagree, but that's how I feel about it.
Rating?
I think it's tough because I quite enjoy it in place, but not. I know it could waver out to 6.5 to 7. I think for me, it just didn't 100% catch me.
Okay, Jack.
I think I'd give it another few goes. I'd say 7.
Okay. I really enjoyed it. The engine building and trying to get all the buildings and upgrade the buildings is very satisfying. And buying the new boards because you need more space. You never have enough space. So there's actually a lot of trading that goes on. You're often thinking, oh, who's got this resource? Can I build this, get this card because I don't have the resources I need? Oh, it's okay because Jack's got this and Mark's got this. And you can often find a way of doing it. But then you find there's this one crucial resource. It's like, oh, no one's built it. How can I go about building that? So I find the whole puzzle really, really engaging. I think Mark's comments are very fair in that essentially the game's going to feel quite similar each time you play it. There's variable scoring and things, but the engine building is more or less the same. It's a very enjoyable experience, but it is going to feel quite similar each time you play it, I think. So, take it or leave it in that sense. Personally, I would be on a 7.5 out of 10, I think, in terms of how much I'm enjoying the game versus that kind of replayability thing. I do think it's very strong. Right, thanks for watching. That was Anno 1800.